All right, here's a question where you need to simplify this expression. So there's no solving, you got to simplify. So I can't use the I hate fraction or clear fraction rule. I just have to simplify the expression. So the first thing I want to do is check to see what the lowest common denominator will be. Since I've got three fractions, to get them together, if I'm subtracting or adding, I need to get a common denominator. So this is already factored, this one's not. We'll start there. So I'll leave the other stuff alone. And it's useful to write all this stuff down each time you do a step, just so you don't lose track of it. I'm going to factor that top thing too. Should I? Yeah, sure. So I'll factor out, I can factor out a 2, and I'm left with x plus 5. Okay, and on the bottom, this will factor 2, x minus 3, x plus 1. Okay, so now my lowest common multiple then will be, I need an x minus 3 and an x minus 1. This one has an x minus 3, covered. This one has an x plus 1, whoops, covered. And this one has both covered. Good. Okay, so now each one needs to have that denominator. So let's change this first one. It has to have an x minus 3. It has an x plus 5 up there. But it also needs an x plus 1. And that's new. So I'll put an x plus 1 there. And if I put it on the bottom, I have to put it on the top. And let's put that thing in brackets on the top. Now minus, the next one is an x plus 2 over x plus 1. But it needs an x minus 3 down there. So let's put an x minus 3 here. So it's common. But if I do it on the bottom, I also need to have it on the top. Okay, good so far. Minus 2 times x plus 5 on the top. And on the bottom, it already has all the denominator, so I don't need to change it at all. Okay, now I've got a common denominator. I can write just one denominator, x minus 3, x plus 1, and then I'll write all the stuff that I have on top. So I have an x plus 5, x plus 1, minus x plus 2, x minus 3, minus 2 times x plus 5. Alright, I see two dirty, rotten, filthy, stinking negatives right there and right there. So I'm going to have to be careful with those. So what I'm going to do is I'll FOIL this first thing together. I'll FOIL this thing together. And I guess I'll multiply this out too. I should have just left it like it was at the first. But I've got to remember that there's that negative in there and this one. Right, so I FOIL the first one. It'll be x squared plus x plus 5x plus 5 minus, the next one will be x squared minus 3x plus 2x minus 6. And then the last one, I'm going to not have that bracket there. It'll be negative 2 times x is a negative 2x, and a negative 2 times 5 is a negative 10. Okay, all over that denominator. Now, let's deal with this dirty, rotten, filthy, stinking negative. So I have x squared plus, that'll be 6x, plus 5, minus x squared, plus 3x, minus 2x, plus 6. Let me see if I did that right. So this should be a minus, yeah. This should be a plus, should be a minus, should be a plus. Yeah, they're all good. And then the last one, we've already dealt with that negative, so I can just write it. All over that lowest common denominator. Now I collect like terms at the top here. Looks like the x squareds cancel because one's positive, one's negative. And then I've got 6x plus 3, that's 9. Minus 2 is 7. Minus another 2 would be 5. Let me see if I did that right. Let me use a color. So 6 plus 3 is 9. Minus 2 is 7. Minus another 2 is 5. Yeah, it's 5. So it'd be 5x. And now let's look at the just the plain numbers. So I got 5 plus 6 is 11, and 11 minus 10 is 1. So 5x plus 1 over that lowest common denominator. Whoops. Now, when I get to this point, I probably should look to see if I can factor that. It looks like you can't factor anything out. So right here is where I'm done. All right, hopefully that helps.